Okay, so we're going to be covering a little bit on the tug and out, and this is just kind of a description video to prep you for what you need to know so that when you see us doing it in action with the dog, it'll make more sense. So the first thing that I'm going to just cover real quick is a lot of this work comes from a thing called Coppinger's praise sequence. I'm not going to get super detailed about it, but Coppinger's praise sequence just describes the sequence of what dogs are doing. Now I'm going to kind of paraphrase this. I'm not going by his exact wording. But in essence, what we have is that most toy play and most chase hunt behaviors, herding behaviors, retrieval behaviors are based off of predatory behavior, right? The hunt behavior. And so obviously we bred certain tendencies like soft mouth, retrieval, herding tendencies, where the dog's not necessarily eating the animal. But once again, all of these kind of were developed from our basis of predatory behavior. And so in dogs, which are apex predators, we want to remember that. So Coppinger praise sequence basically says that we have like the stimulus, right? The animal's there. Maybe they run. So this gives chase. This is the prey behavior. So we give chase and prey. Okay. And then they catch the animal. Then there's the fight and kill, right? Right. And then the animal's dead after the struggle. And now we have the dog or animal give up the prey animal and ingest it. So we have chase, fight, kill, ingest. All right. And when we talk about this for most dogs, and there's exceptions because of what we've bred into dogs, from once again, genetics matter. But in essence, we have a saying that there is no such thing as like a suicidal squirrel or rabbit. So most animals that are prey want to survive. And so they're going to give chase, right? And so our dog sees something that moves and flutters, right? The ball, the tug, right? And the dog goes rah and launches into it. Okay. Now, in that next step, when the dog has acquired the prey animal, there's fight. Okay. And we simulate fight by a little bit of like having the tug try to kind of just pop out of the mouth so that the dog has to hold on. And if the dog lets go, we're like, oh my gosh, right? The rabbit got away. And our tug is the rabbit in this case. Okay. Now, what's important to understand about a tug is that the length of the tug and the hardness of the tug are going to matter when we're talking about what kind of response we have. So if we have a puppy, we might start with a rag or a handkerchief or a chamois, a fleece towel, okay? We may even start with a braided fleece tug. This is really flimsy. There's a lot of movement. The more movement in it, the more we're getting the drive for the hunt, right? And the fight. The dog's fighting, right? And let's, for example, if I had two hands on this, like this, right? The dog's going to get a lot of action in the tug. Okay. When the animal dies, we want the animal to just kind of go dead. And so we're going to wrap our hands up as close to the mouth as possible. A lot of the time we're going to tuck in the flippy things on the side, right? So, and we just stop and lock. Dog gets bored. They're like, it went dead. They let go, right? And then to reward the letting go, because we don't want them to ingest the tug, we're going to make the animal run again. And the dog's going to grab on, and that's going to reward giving it up. So every time I stop that tug, the dog gives it up. So that's one way. We call it, some people call it dead sticking, right? We just make the tug go dead, dog comes off. If we have a marker word, which we're going to show you to introduce with in this game, I use beep. We'll show it with a more experienced dog. Then once again, we're going to start toggling that dog coming off and dropping that item while this is still in our hands, right? Now, for some dogs, even though they're getting that toy right back, we can create some possessiveness. And some dogs don't quite trust it, right? For a lot of sports dogs that are going to be high tendency towards resource aggression. The other way we can do this is maybe I have two of the same tug, right? So tug, 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 we're playing, we're playing, we're playing. This becomes boring, it goes stiff. Now, on that out, I'm going to produce this one. As soon as the dog comes off this tug, right? Now we start tugging, 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 tugging. Out, this goes stiff. Dog comes off, beep, play, 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 play. So then if the dog's just not really losing the object, they're just going from one to the other. And eventually we can wean down to one sub-object. You can do this with two people. I have a tug, you have a tug. I get boring, you get interesting. Okay? So that's another way we can start to introduce the out. Now you're going to notice this is like a fire hose tug. This is a lot stiffer, okay, than say the fleece tug that I just had, or maybe a jute tug is actually pretty firm. So for a dog that's really solid on chasing, hunting, grabbing, fighting, I may use something like this because maybe they're not as solid on the out. So a stiffer tug is going to be handy when we get into the out. Stiffer than the fire hose might be something like a rolled jute, okay? And this is like really, really firm. Right here, you can see me squeeze. This one, there's like, I can't squeeze it, right? It's pretty stiff. It's a really kind of hard tug, okay? So for a dog that's not giving up on the out, this is going to be a more appropriate tug than this. The fleece tug is once again going to encourage more of that fight, okay? So the longer the tug, the more movement in the tug, the more prey response we're getting, or tug and fight and drive when we're teaching the dog to let go. Once again, the more stiff tugs are going to be useful for a dog that's really hard biting, doesn't want to let go. We have a dog that comes in that's really just a powerful like pit mix, right? And this tug, like I could knock you out with, I mean, practically be a baton. There is not a lot of give to that. Okay, now you can see some teeth marks, right, from a really hard biting dog. This is a really hard leather. It's rolled really tight inside. There's not a lot of give. So if I have a dog that I'm utterly struggling to get the out with, I might go to a much harder tug. And there are some other options, okay? So our equipment matters. Length of equipment, how much give there is, fabric of equipment, or material of equipment is going to matter. Once again, we want to keep in mind whether a dog's possessive or not, look at some of their responses. We may need to experiment with this. So we're going to show this with some different dogs. So different ways of doing this game. But once again, that's kind of the idea. So once my dog starts figuring out, I can let go. When this goes dead, I'm going to maybe look for when they're doing it within about 2 seconds of me locking in most cases. And so I stop and lock, and dog's coming off in 2 seconds. Well, now I'm going to say beep, and I'm going to make it run. Just make sure that you're not in bite range of this tug, because if you tuck it into yourself, your stomach's going to get it, right? So we move out of the way, right? Whatever presentation we're making, okay? But we're always making it flee from the dog. It's prey. It's going away. So it's beep, pop, okay? Or beep, throw, right? And then 2, when now we're going to go ahead and after a little bit of play, we're going to do just short sessions, play, 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 fight and give and fight and give and fight and give and fight and give, right? Right? And then when the puppy's gripping tight, now we're going to go ahead, tuck in our handles preferably, and just lock this through the dog's mouth. I'd have it on either side of the dog's mouth as close as possible. There's less movement. And then I just wait, right? So now it's tug, 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 out, dog lets go, beep, pop, play, okay? We're going to progress from this to now teaching the dog not to grab the tug until we say, right, which we're kind of teaching in the process, but then same thing, beep, tug, right, play, 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 dog's hanging from it, and now we say out, dog comes off. Now maybe I wiggle it a little bit. The dog goes back for it. I just out. The dog comes off. We wiggle it. They don't go for it. Beep. And we reward the resistance, right? Resisting going for the tuck. So that's kind of the breakdown of how we use the tug. Now there are other things we can do. And we'll show the 2-ball game, and we'll show how we get an out with food and trading and some things like that. But I want to just cover tugs. The same thing. If I have a puppy that's not quite crazy about the tug as of yet, right? I might use something like a flirt pole or a little tug at the end of a line, right? Because I can really get a lot of chase here, so I can flutter it. Puppy's chasing, and right? Get the puppy really working to catch it. And once they grab it, we can tug, 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 tug. I can even work down the line. Because for some dogs, me getting in tight with the dog while I go to tug kind of freaks them out a little bit, especially if they're little. So we can keep that tugging going, work our way up the line, reinforce the tug by a little bit of fight, creep up and get her out, okay? I'm more worried in working dogs building a lot more fight and hunt and chase, and pet dogs